Good morning. I am so happy to be back. I have just a couple things to say. Number one, I have honestly been, for the first time in my life that I can really recognize, in a state of burnout as a result of the multiple traumas that have been occurring in my family that are now starting to mellow out, not fully resolved, but getting better. And I just needed to shut down and only focus on myself and my kids and my patients. So I'm sorry I haven't been here. And I keep trying to be consistent, but when it comes down to it, I'm just going to go into my classic sort of shut down and take care of myself. And I knew if I did that long enough, eventually it would come back. So that's number one. Number two, I am in the middle of also working on a book, and that has added a lot of extra stress and pressure, but also excitement. And another reason why I think I had hit burnout, and I'm hoping to, that's changing. I've been deep in the research, and that has inspired today's video. And number three, in the midst of all of this, just at the end of this last part, I did an interview with Taylor HEATON, who is AKA Mom on the Spectrum, where we talked about narcissism and autism and trauma. And I would love for you to go watch it if you don't already follow her. I know many of you already do, but please check out that video and follow Taylor on every platform you can. She's just an incredible resource and a really lovely human. And at the end of this month, she's going to come on my channel and we're going to talk about discovering autism and self-discovery and all of those topics. So I hope you will also join us. Today's video was inspired by this deep dive I'm doing specifically on one chapter around fawning and appeasement. And I really am doing it because as I'm talking about hypervigilance and hypersensitivity and a lot of topics from autism to childhood trauma, is that I really hate the discourse around fawning. I hate the way it's talked about in many platforms where it's like, oh, you're a people pleaser and you're doing this to manipulate. I understand why that's the narrative, but I really think it doesn't do a service to where this is born from, the nest in which it develops in our childhoods. And that leads to today's topic, which is what I'm calling, it's not a thing, it's just my terminology, dissociated types of attachment. Now, can you also find that this is very common if you have disorganized or fearful avoidant? Yes, but it could also possibly be common in other forms of attachment styles like anxious or avoidant. But I really wanted to get into this because what got me to this word dissociated was this, that for so many of us, this idea that we're fawning, it's like, yes, but it's so much more than that. And it's not just about scanning and people pleasing and trying to be some compliant, palatable, shape-shifting version, which it is. It is also about when you're doing this, it becomes who you are. As I keep talking about hypervigilance in the chronic way, it becomes who we are. And it's a survival skill we learn to do. So if you think about a child in childhood, if you have a parent who you have for whatever reason be monitoring, scanning, you never know what to expect from, rage to the silent treatment. So you have that. That's a more sympathetic that gets cultivated again and again and again and is often the heart of toxic chronic stress, right? But you don't live in that in every single moment for most of us, right? Sometimes these parents are fun or funny or compliant or loving or available or helpful. Most of them are not bad all the time. But if a kind of parent who can be that way, but also then turn on you, punish you, be punitive, call you names, rage at you or the other parent, or give you the silent treatment or all of the above, they're never truly fully safe. So as a way to deal with that, you have to cut off parts of yourself. So when you're activated in fight or flight, you can't flee, you can't fight, you're a child. Or if you did those things, which many of us tried, they don't go well. So you have to, at the same time, kind of collapse and shut down that part of you in some way. You have to kind of hit the parasympathetic, the brake. If sympathetic is the gas and parasympathetic is the brake, that's how we silence ourselves. That's how we avoid conflict. So we're hyper in scanning, hyper aware in scanning, but also shutting that down because it doesn't serve us. And where fawning comes in is that we're also enacting this way of presenting. And I think that, it can be intentional. We know we don't want to get them upset, but oftentimes we don't even know we're doing it. That is the shape shifting, where we're also presenting this ventral vagal, this social compliance. So we're freaking out. This is also the roots, I think, of disorganized. We're anxious, we're scanning, we're monitoring emotions and behaviors. We're also shutting down. It's talked about, it extinguishes the fight response in us, and we can go into a sort of dissociated, shut down state, but also need to be some version that is palatable enough to our parents. And when things are good enough with them, meaning that they're not going to rage at you in that moment, they're going to take you to Disneyland or the park, or they're being fine. It's not like every moment as a kid, you know that. Like that is the good love I've talked about. And so when the bad love comes, when they rage at you, scream and yell at you, you snap back out of that into like, oh my God, they're the worst. This is harmful and abusive. But what I've realized is that I went almost 50 years without the integration of the good and bad. So when my mom was bad, it could be for a week or a day or a year or two at a time. Yes, I saw this is toxic. This is harmful. But when I was in need and she was there, even though it wasn't actually good as I thought it was in the moment, it's like I had this blindness, this blindness, this cut off part of myself that wasn't integrated. And because I didn't understand the way that, for example, BPD had been so stigmatized, I didn't get that. It was all I'd ever known. And so this idea that like, that I had this childhood where I was being like compliant and always trying to get her to love me. Yes, of course. But did I know I was always doing that? And did you? Probably not at every moment. And as I was just sharing on TikTok, I was I'd never watched The Handmaid's Tale. So I watched all the seasons when I was really actually in the midst of this shutdown I got really sick for a week with a stomach flu. And I binge watched all 5 seasons, which was stressful, especially right now. And there are points where June in captivity is being compliant. Yes, Mrs. Waterford, but you can see it in her eyes, the hate and the anger. But she has to be compliant. She's almost fawning in a way to be safe. But then there are other times that I was thinking about that's intentional. But when it's your childhood and, you're getting that good love, you don't often know you're doing it. And so I'm looking for ways to talk about this because this is what I think plays out in our adult relationships. We only know the shut off, dissociated parts of ourselves until we do know. Once I integrated at 50, I decided to go no contact very intentionally because I let myself, through therapy and awareness or whatever happened, let myself sounds like I had control over it. I didn't until then. It all kind of finally pulled together, the harmful nature, and my mom got worse over time. So these are 6 signs that you are in a sort of this kind of dissociated attachment. And it might play out in anxiety or avoidance or both. It might play out in people pleasing in your relationships. But I really want to take away this dynamic that we're somehow wielding this, yes, we're keeping the light off ourselves because that is what we were trained to do until we learn otherwise. So here they are. And by the way, I think I'm gonna make some videos on TikTok talking about the backstory of the White Lotus characters because I think Amy Lou's character Chelsea is a great example of a childhood like this, why she could love someone like Rick, and why all that happened the way it did. But that's another story. Anyway, okay. Number 1, you are in a love-hate cycle. So you love them so much, you hate them. And when I say hate, like you say, I hate you, I hate them. The way that you think about them is something that you would not really want to say out loud. Like it's intense. It's very extreme. It's really the split that they're doing with you, you sort of do with them. So these are the cutoff parts, right? They're not integrated. Number 2, you're often unconsciously uncomfortable with some levels of intimacy, their vulnerability, their oversharing, or their touch. My example was when my mom and I were good and she would go to hug me, I always sort of bristled or I would do it. And I did not know I was doing this. And she would say, why don't you hug me very hard back? It was like my body knew, but my mind could not let myself fully experience that. And I felt bad about it. Like, why do I not want to hug my own mom? Like, I love her. It was in my body. The trauma of the story with her was playing out. So It could also have been when she was talking about inappropriate things about her life and her marriage and all that. That it kind of like, ooh, that twingy inside. But on the outside, I had learned it was so normalized. I was so used to her oversharing that I'm sure I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's a jerk, blah, blah, blah. So that feeling inside is what I'm talking about. Number 3, you only let yourself see how bad it is when they are bad to you. So it's a very one-way thing. Like when they would, blow up at you or go off on you, then you're like, oh my God, I hate them. They're so abusive. They're so harmful. But once again, the split off part, once you've repaired or whatever's happened, it's like that part's there. It's always running in the background with hypervigilance and scanning, but you're not in it at every moment. Number 4, other people see it more than you do, right? And so when you're mad at them, they validate you. But when, it's like that thing where it's like, I can talk bad about them, but you can't, you kind of find yourself in some way making excuses, protecting them. You don't let yourself honor that even if it wasn't intentional and it was their trauma, their mental illness, you don't acknowledge how bad it really is until, someone else says it. And oftentimes you find yourself defending against that until you make the integration and really honor all those parts. Oh, it's their first time being an adult too, or they had trauma too. Yes, that's true, but that doesn't make the abuse acceptable or okay. Number 5 is when things are good, they're so good. And so you only really, the flip side of that is you only feel like, oh, it's okay. The bad stuff is okay because they help me. They give me money. I'm getting an inheritance from them or whatever it is. But it's like when you're in the good, you find ways to sort of minimize and justify and shove down and dissociate more from the really harmful parts. And number 6, this is a very classic sign. You worry about losing them. Like a part of you is terrified of them not being here anymore. But when things are bad or otherwise, you fantasize about them not being here anymore. Like truly think about if they're not here anymore, that's going to be so much better. I hope they'll go. But the flip side to that is often the other side, this intense fear of losing them. And the reason why this is so common is that people will say this, like, I can't wait for them to go because they're mad at them, but they're still very much in an enmeshed and toxic relationship with them. Because once you go no contact and do the work, whether they go or not, yes, there may be some relief to that, but you're no longer in the cycle of abuse. And so I have found that I don't feel those I'm going to slow down. I don't feel those extreme emotions the way I used to. I don't feel intense love or intense hatred anymore. I feel more longing and sadness and compassion for the mother I never got, as I've discovered in even the last few months, more things she did to my kids. I get angry at times and kind of horrified, but it solidifies that I had to choose myself, and I don't regret it. But that doesn't mean there's not pain and wound, and that there will be when she goes, right? It still exists, but it's a very different and different experience, and the intensity is so much less now, 7 years after no contact, than it was. So anyway, that is it for today's video. Like I said, I'm back. I hope I'm back. I plan to be back. Please go follow Taylor and watch that video and share your thoughts. I have so many more things I wish I could have said that day too, but we talk about, really trauma and autism and narcissism, like I said, and I hope you'll follow me on other places. I haven't posted on Substack, but I will be doing that soon, and I just started posting again on Instagram and TikTok, so thank you for being here, and also YouTube Shorts. I'm trying to get better at that. So anyway, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. I'm curious about your thoughts, and please take good care. Stay safe. Bye.